Nexus is
it's
there.
over.
This is going to be the first best of 5 series the Chiefs have ever lost, and Sin will take on Legacy tomorrow. Cupcake's on top of him. Exhaust has gone down, but Nexus has gone.
Shockwave.
Shockwave on way over. He's still going to pick up kills. The Nexus, it's so low. They get it. Legacy have done it. They're going into the grand finals against the Direwolves. Legacy put up their last stand, but is it going to be enough? It doesn't seem like it. Direwolves hammer on towards the Nexus. They can taste it. They feel that they are the new champions here in Oceania.
Hello and welcome to this Day 1, Week 1, Game 1 of the OPL Split 2 for 2017. My name is Michael Hingersing and I'm joined here at the analyst desk by Bradley T-Gun Seymour from TM, and also on loan from the LPL we have Zach Rusty Pie. Thank you both for being here. And I'm very excited. T-Gun, new team, new split. How are you feeling about it all?
Pretty confident. Definitely better than last season. I mean, it's
Sure.
not hard to be better than last season,
got
right?
relegated. Did you guys ever end up doing those nudie runs or for no?
It's PG
Sorry,
show.
I apologize.
PG
Yep.
show.
And Rusty, you've obviously been LPLing for a whole night now so far. You've had 2 shows, 1 show now.
2 shows
Two
now.
shows. How are you guys feeling?
I mean, fantastic. It's good to get back into casting, just back into watching League of Legends all over again.
Yeah, it's an exciting time to be getting back into League of Legends because this split, the winner of the OPL will be going on to represent OS at Worlds, which is very, very exciting. So let's take a look at today's schedule, shall we? We're going to kick things off with Direwolves versus Chiefs. This is a massive rematch from last split because these guys have never actually played together with their full-strength rosters. We're going to be then transitioning on to our second game of the day, which is Abyss versus the newly promoted Regicide team, who have come up from the OCS. So, you know, before we get into these games, I do want to talk about last split very, very quickly. Just do a quick recap. Obviously, Direwolves won. They went across to MSI, had a kind of a disappointing showing there. I think they would agree with that. But our MVP for last split was the AD carry of Legacy, Lost. And what I'm interested to know about from you guys is when you look at these two teams we're playing today, any of these people could be the MVP of this split. But also, I mean, you had some pretty rough run-ins against Lost.
Yeah, he hit me in the head a lot with his Varus Qs. Don't want to talk about it.
Yep,
I'd rather talk about how Schoenfire would make a very, very good claim at wanting to be the MVP both last season and this season. If you ask him, in his head, he was the MVP. He's already the MVP this season. I guarantee if you ask him that, that's what he'll say. But you're right. They all have a really, really good ability to say that they will be the breakout performer of this season.
Yeah, and credit where it's due, right? Lost, I think he's my boy. He's a very fantastic player. I've always had a bit of faith in him, and it's good to see him finally spreading his wings in a new team. And we'll have to see what the future holds for him if he can continue to be an MVP-worthy player.
All right, well, let's get to today's first game, Direwolves versus Chiefs. And like I said, this is a very exciting time because the first time these guys played last split, Direwolves, their jungler was Sybil because Schoenfire he had a 2-week suspension. The second time they played last split, Chiefs were fielding a B team because of a competitive ruling. So, I mean, what are we looking for here? I mean, the Direwolves kind of had a disappointing showing at MSI. So how do you think they're bouncing back from that, Tigger?
They took a bit of a break because they deserved it, right? They performed extremely well for, 12 weeks roughly, and then played at MSI. Came in with huge words, huge expectations, didn't back it up. All right, so now they need to redeem themselves, and that's what they're going to look to do both in this game and the whole season to prove that they are the #1 team now. They don't want to be looked at as a flash in the pan.
Yeah, and the same thing applies for both of these teams, right? The Chiefs, they arguably have much more to prove. Direwolves failing on the international stage. Well, they still got to the international stage.
Absolutely.
The Chiefs finishing with an unprecedented 4th is very surprising, and they're just as hungry themselves. Gone to Korean solo queue, very prepared, you would have to hope, coming into this, but there's not a lot of time to play as a team. It's mostly solo queue, mostly League of Origins. There was other things in the way.
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, when they went to Korea, it was only 3 members of the Chiefs who went. Raze and Swiffer didn't go, so it was just Spooks, Swiper, and Ejim who went. The Direwolves, however, didn't go to Korea this time because obviously they were, in MSI and doing other stuff. So let's talk then about changes to the game because I want to talk about these 7.11 patch changes. I mean, we're going to be seeing new things, including new champions on the Rift. And I think for you, I mean, we've seen Blitz being picked in LCK, so that's exciting for you, T-Gun, right?
Yeah. I mean, the biggest change is the Doran's Shield change. That's what's enabling picks like Blitzcrank and removing picks like Karma. I say removing, she's still played, but to less prominence because you don't really pick the poke champions anymore. You want the champions that all in very well, like Blitzcrank, like Thresh, To a lesser extent, champions like Leona might come back and just create this really kill lane-centric bot lane.
Well, let's talk about these Doran Shield changes. Rusty, I mean, break it down for us. What actually has changed and how are we seeing this item picked up more in games?
So Doran's Shield, basically, the biggest thing it gives is an extra potion to the AD carries, but above that as well, it actually lets you sustain through the lane just that little bit better, which is why the poke champions are gone. Every time you take damage, you regenerate extra health, as well as its passive health regeneration. So to push out an AD carry, nearly impossible now, and that's why the only way you can push out an AD carry is by killing them. And so you do see the Blitzcranks, you do see the Threshers coming through. Most of the Ignite users, they want to be aggressive in that bottom lane, actually get 2v2 kills now, not just push them out and break a turret.
I mean, we're also seeing new champions, Xayah and Rakan, obviously. We've seen Xayah being paired with Blitzcrank. Do you think we're going to be seeing some of these new champs on the Rift today?
I hope we see the Blitz, obviously, not a new champ, but personal preference. I'm expecting Xayah to be picked at least once throughout the day. It's a very, very strong pick. Rakan, a little bit more situational, but I still expect to see it.
I mean, you're both support players, so what is Rakan's strength in terms is he strong by himself, or does he need a team comp to work in specifically?
You need a team. His laning sucks. Call a spade a spade. His laning sucks.
Oh, boy.
All right? But when he gets to the mid game, when he gets to the late game, if your team enables it, he can be probably the best support you can pick, in my opinion.
And he's super good at protecting AD carries in the lane. So whilst his laning phase may not be great, outside of laning phase as well, he's fantastic if he has other champions that can complement him. If you've watched League of Origin recently, you would have seen Ejim picking it up. So I do expect to see it today, just because he can wombo with the team. They've got that wombo available, and Ejim looks so proficient on the champion. Even if the laning is weak, you can complement that with something like a Caitlyn.
Well, moving to the jungle, this is going to be the first time we're going to be seeing Spooks v Schoenfire. Do you guys have any opinions on if there's a skill mismatch there at all, or if they're both? I mean, they're both, you know, two of the best junglers in Ice right now.
I think it's actually just goal dependent on what the junglers want to do. Schoenfire is all about Schoenfire. Spooks is more about the rest of his team. He'll play the champions like Nunu and try and enable the rest of his roster. The question to me is, when you look at these junglers, can Spooks hold on to Schoenfire actually aggressing and going forwards? And will they actually have winning lanes, the Chiefs, to prevent Schoenfire from doing that and keep it equal? Because then you look at the Chiefs as a slight edge.
It's also about how restricted the jungle pool gets. With the new ban system, generally you're going to see a lot of bans there, especially Zac. I don't expect Zac to get through today.
No.
But if Zac doesn't get through, then Elise becomes the strongest pick. Does Elise get through, or does it also get banned out? How restricted are their pools going to be to sort of work towards the goals, like Rusty was saying? What can they do? And that's really going to be draft dependent.
All right. Well, before we get into the game, let's take a look at the teams getting ready right now in the OPL studios here at Riot. Let's take a look at the Direwolves first and go through their lineup. There. King.
All four of them.
Yeah, their top laner is Chippies. Their jungler, who we just spoke about, is Schoenfire. Their mid laner is Fantix. King is their AD carry, waking up there. And Destiny is their support player. And speaking of Destiny, I mean, he's a massive Thresh player. Thresh has seen a lot of play in the meta, T-Gun. And do you think we're going to see that today, or will Chiefs just ban it out?
They could ban it out, but at the same time, then you're banning it away from Ejim. He can also play it in his own right. So it's sort of a catch-22. Do you ban it from Destiny and sort of let him go to his, I guess we would say, second best champ, right? I don't think it's ban-worthy, personally. I think there's plenty of things you can pick, but
I guess
where do you go from there?
Like, it's dependent on the side of the map as well, right? If the Chiefs are on blue side, maybe they do ban the Thresh because they have a higher priority first pick, and you know that they'll get it on red side. It's really draft dependent. But like in the LPL as an example, of course, I've been casting that league. Thresh is banned pretty much 100% of the time. It's kind of absurd.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's take a look at the Chiefs getting ready in their studio, shall we? And go through their lineup. You see these dudes just being pretty chill as always.
Much more awake.
Let's go through their lineup. Their top laner is Swiper. Their jungler, who we were just speaking about before, facing off against Schoenfire, will be Spooks. Their mid laner is Swiffer, who did not go to Korea with the rest of them. Their AD carry is Raze, who also stayed home. And Ejim, we're just talking about the potential Thresh pick from him. He is their support player. The coach in the background you see there is Volt, who's finishing up with the guys he put on Twitter today, saying this is going to be, he's winding up, he's going to go back to uni. Education's very important. Look, I'm a dropout, I wouldn't know. All right, let's move on, shall we? I'm going to get you guys' predictions before we get into this game. T-Gun, Direwolves versus Chiefs. Who is going to be winning this first match of the OPL Split 2 for 2017?
The smart money's on Direwolves.
Sure.
Right?
You're back of the smart money.
No. I'm going to go with Chiefs, 2-1.
Chiefs 2-1. All right. Rusty, what do you think?
So I have on OPL tips Chiefs 2-0 just for no particular reason. I tried to look at it and change it today, and it wouldn't let me, so I kind of committed to that. But here on the desk, I'm going to go for Direwolves 2-1. I just think their individual talent can get them across the line.
Absolutely. All right. Well, earlier this week, we sat down with both teams and talked to them about what they've been doing in the off-season before this first game. So let's see what they had to say.
MSI went pretty bad for us. We didn't do as good as what people expected of us and what we expected of ourselves.
I knew Direwolves were taking international League of Legends a bit for granted because, like, obviously we've had a lot of experience overseas and we know what it's like.
I said a lot of things that I believed in and they didn't come true, so I want to earn that trust back.
When you're actually playing against these teams and they're putting so much pressure on you, they just make you look worse. I think that's what we saw at Wildcards with the Direwolves as well.
Going overseas really highlight which areas of our gameplay we need to improve on. And since that's so clear to us, I feel like our goal is just really crystal clear in our minds, and we know exactly what we need to do.
I think the only games we need to win are actually Week 1 and 10 versus Direwolves. I don't think we should lose to any other team besides them.
Direwolves are definitely, obviously, the strongest opponents in our group, and winning the regular season games is obviously, again, more important because of the gauntlet format.
You'd never want to drop games to mid-tier teams or bottom ladder teams because it just means that your run has to be longer at the end of the split.
This split, we're doing a lot of structural changes in the way we practice every day. We were playing 3 scrims a day, working over 10 hours a day, but it doesn't matter how much you work, it's if it's effective or not.
And we're putting thought into our process of learning rather than just grinding out games mindlessly, because that wasn't very effective.
If you look into the past OPL splits, a lot of the time, there's only 1 or 2 other teams where we're like, okay, we really need to make sure that we're ready for this match. We can't just roll over them. But now the OPL, I think any team can beat any team in the top 5.
I think OPL 2017 Split 2 is going to be the most competitive season of the OPL that's ever been. I think this is a split to show who's truly the best in Oceania.
For us, it's just going to be take it by week basis and make sure we're equally prepared for all of the top 5 teams.
I really want to beat them so people shut the hell up about, Chiefs still being the best or whatever.
I actually haven't seen as much determination in my team as I'm seeing at the start of this split. So I'm really excited to get into it.
It just feels good to beat the team that's always been the best. And yeah, that's why I'm so excited about this match, is because I want my revenge. I want my revenge. I haven't got it.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're about to get into the first match of 2017 Splits 2 of the OPL. I'm Matthew Stewart. Joining me is Jake Spot and Tiberian. And that was some feisty words from those 2 teams.
Yeah, it certainly is. And you know that they want to beat each other right now, Fish, because when you have a look at it, Direwolves put in so much hard work last split. They got their just reward, went overseas for the first time, and now people are still doubting them. You saw Fantix at Origin, you saw King at Origin. They were able to take it out. They look terrific. Honestly, Direwolves have to be going into this first game as the red-hot favourites because they just deserve it so much.
They certainly do, but the Chiefs, they have such a big legacy in Oceania as well. They're kind of like the old kings, and the Direwolves have come in and taken the crown away.
Yeah, they certainly have, but when there is an upset like that, when Direwolves do storm in with a new roster, a roster that Chiefs have never played against in full, you do have to respect what Direwolves was able to accomplish. Does that mean that this game is going to be one-sided? No, I think that the Chiefs now working together had that rude awakening, but I think it just takes more than a week to get back into it. But the best thing about this is we get to find out because we're already in pick bands.
We certainly are. The first match of Split 2 is going to be Direwolves taking on Chiefs. There couldn't be any better match to kick things off here in the OPL. And
I mean, arguably, Legacy Direwolves would have been a good one to kick it off with. Return of the last split final, I would have taken that one as well.
Probably. We have all 3 bans from both teams coming out already. Syndra as well as Galio and Thresh banned out by the Direwolves. The Chiefs, they're going to take away Elise, Cassidy, as well as Zach. First pick for the Wolves will be Gragas.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. I mean, at League of Origin and in the other regions, we've seen that tanks with shielding are just so strong at the moment. We see a lot of hyper carries being played. It takes a while for them to come online. So anything that is able to be beefy in the early game just through champion selection is going to have that natural buff. I mean, hell, we saw an Urgot win. So there is just so many weird picks that you can play on this patch. In saying that, that's a pretty well-rounded bottom lane if they want to pick it up in the first couple.
Let's see if they go for it, because Xayah is a very promising AD carry who has been played widely in solo queue, was released during the off-season, so we haven't seen too much competitive play yet. Rakan, though, as Tegan was saying on the desk, is very situational, but these two have lots of interactions between one another.
I don't give a damn what Tegan said on the desk, honestly, because we saw Ejim play this pick to such a higher level. He went over to Korea. He was playing it so much in the solo queue over there. He was able to make it work. Obviously, he's come back now working with Raze. I've seen them 2v2 a lot on the live server at the moment, just getting into custom games. I really am excited to see how well they can pick off the new dynamic duo.
On the flip side, though, the Direwolves have locked in their bottom lane as well. Varus and Braum are their 2 picks of choice.
Yeah, and Varus is just super standard. We know that King still plays it both ways, with the penetration build as well as with some attack speed. The thing that I'm excited about is how well Destiny plays Braum. In the past, we've said if Destiny gets his kind of champions, he's able to do incredible things. And he's going to have to block so many of those feathers coming out of Xayah just for this team comp to work, because it is a very go-forward team comp so far. So a lot of pressure, because Braum historically hasn't been one of his big picks.
And the Chiefs, they've locked in their jungler as well. Lee Sin has been picked up for Spooks. The last time a split started for the Chiefs, he picked up Lee Sin in one of their first games and didn't play it for quite a few games after.
Yeah, just Spooks Q after Spooks Q, flying around there, missing everything. In all seriousness, though, he's actually a very good Lee Sin. He had one poor game, and even at the start of that game, he had some fantastic kicks. So I'm not surprised that he goes back to it. Definitely has his confidence back. Was able to climb to Master in Korean solo queue as well. So certainly has the ability to pick up that champion, gives him a lot of early game pressure.
And the next few bans have been finalized between the Direwolves and the Chiefs. Jace as well as Fiora, the last 2 bans from the Chiefs. Orianna and Cassiopeia, the bans from the Direwolves targeted towards Swiffer.
And let's just have a look at this mid lane priority for a second. Syndra, Galio arguably, Orianna, as well as a Cassio, and then you have Kassadin, Jace, all being taken off Summoner's Rift right now. That leaves a huge hole in the mid lane champion pool, and Swiffer has locked himself in a counter pick here because you know that Kennen's going top lane.
Yes, we'll have to see what Swiper is going to be able to do with this Kennen, because the Chiefs team comp now, with Lee Sin and Kennen in the front line, it's a very squishy team.
Potentially, I think Rakan will get slightly big through the tank stats. He's able to get a lot of surprising initiation, and of course that Courage of Colossus shield will help him out. That is definitely going to be an AD Kennen, however, so you're correct. That is a little bit less frontline. And now diving onto all those squishies is going to be a Vladimir. I mean, straight away, you think that if Fantix wins the early game in the laning phase, he's going to be able to take over Summoner's Rift.
And the final pick for the Direwolves is going to be Graves, so Schönfire will take that champion into the jungle. We will see Gragas heading into the top lane for Chippies. And you're right, Swiffer does get his counter pick here today. He knows he's up against a Vladimir in the mid lane.
And that's worrying, because I guess the response to Vladimir is normally a lot of consistent damage or Orianna. And pretty much Syndra, Ori, as well as Cassio being taken away. You also like to play things like Kassadin into Vlad just to force him into a side lane. Taliyah will do a good job in the early game, but you still have to watch out for that Vladimir scaling.
So the pick of choice for Swiffer to take on Fantix Vladimir is going to be Taliyah, which makes sense. Lots of consistent jamming, lots of consistent damage,
yep.
as well as good wave clear from the champion. 2 things that Vladimir struggles against very early on.
Definitely, and when you have a look at this, it's going to be at least 2 pushing lanes. Kennen should be able to push in. He has the range advantage. Probably going to go shield. Taliyah should be able to push in mid lane for the first couple of levels at least. So we'll see whether that sets Shern behind. Because so many times we saw the recipe for success for Direwolves in the last split was push up those 2 lanes. You have Fantix, you have Chippies, arguably uncontested in their roles at the end of last split. Then you have Shern invading on the enemy jungler and taking away the top side of that jungle CS. So a lot of pressure on Spooks to be able to secure that, but also now see whether Shern can adapt to having 2 losing lanes.
It almost feels like, though, the onus is on the Chiefs to win the early game here, because it's such a squishy team comp. The Direwolves can sit back, scale up. Once they get a few tanky items, they can go to town on the Chiefs.
Completely agree with you. As soon as you lock in Vladimir, the onus is on the other team to get ahead. If they don't, then you're just going to have unrivaled late game damage, and you have access to that backline. We've already said there isn't much of a front line for the Chiefs, so they're not going to be able to keep Fantix out. So big pressure on Swiffer to shut him down.
Certainly is, and on top of that, Spooks has to do well in the jungle to be able to get that rolling for the Chiefs. He's up against Schönfire. The 2 have never really faced off in a competitive game yet, and Schönfire is on one of his most comfortable champions of Graves.
Yeah, and even though they haven't played competitively, I mean, this rivalry's gone for like 4 years. Back when I was helping out the Chiefs a little bit, they were playing Shern against us in scrims, the Direwolves, and he was an absolute monster even back then. One of the best Vi players when Vi was really strong. So Spooks definitely knows the matchup, and Shern has given him headaches in the past.
Well, he's got his chance to redeem himself here today as he gets his first match against Shernfire on a competitive stage. We are on to Summoner's Rift for the first game of Split 2 2017. Chiefs taking on the Direwolves. But for now, let's check in with Hingers, who I believe is standing by with one of the coaches.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Sharp right now, coach of the Direwolves. Nope. I'm just being told which camera to look at. So how are you guys feeling? We saw in that video that you guys are kind of redoing a lot of the way you guys practice. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, we've just had a bit of revision on how we're approaching the split. Last split, we were a bit chaotic in the way we practiced and the way we prepared for games. So we're coming in a lot more prepared in a sense and having quite a bit a thorough schedule and sticking to that schedule to increase our efficiency in learning.
Well, also today you're going to be facing off against Zyron Rakan in the bot lane. Have you guys had much practice against that? And what are your kind of thoughts as that as a bot lane?
Yeah, we haven't actually had too much practice against Zyron Rakan both together, but we do know that Braum's a pretty solid pick into it. Obviously with the interaction with the shields and blocking the feathers and all that, but yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how that bot lane goes. So, yeah.
All right, well, thank you for speaking to us and best of luck today. Thank you.
Ending on that note, you can already see in the bottom lane so much action taking place between these two teams. Good jump in by Egypt to get the knock up down on towards King. 2 summoner spells blown by the Direwolves and forces King back to base very early.
Exactly right, and you can see now they're trying to zone away and deny CS instead of pushing in early into Braum, which is very hard to do. Really like that aggression. One thing I want to point out is that Egypt hasn't gone for Coin Rakan. He's actually picked up a Spell Thief, which historically has not been the case. Seen a lot more Coin starts. Coin, of course, was changed a little bit where you have to be able to gather them. Maybe didn't want to contest that against the Braum. So instead going for a very harass-heavy kind of lane here.
And funnily enough, I got to talk to Ejim as well as Tegan about this during the League of Legends League of Origin. And Ejim was saying he likes Coin in lanes where he can't actually poke the enemy champions because he's never going to get gold from it, he's never going to upgrade the item. Whereas Spell Thieves, he's able to poke in lanes where there's a melee support, not too much damage coming out from ADK, which kind of makes sense when you're against a Braum.
Yeah, it certainly does. So I like to pick up, see whether he can get it ticking over efficiently. Coin does give you a little bit of mana sustain at the moment, however. Still someone's Spell Thief, so it's not going to be that much of a difference. As you said, just more harass coming out. You can see that straight away, Shern wants to get aggressive, is actually trying to invade top side of the map, get in behind the cannon. And we'll see whether this is going to be an early game gank. He's got double buff already. Please show me Shernfire, not mid lane. We have a pause.
Yeah, unfortunately there is a pause here on Summoner's Rift. But you're right, Shernfire's been able to sneak in right behind Cannon in the top lane. He was able to jump over towards the Rift Hell pit, dash over that wall. So we'll have to see if he's able to pick up first blood for his team here.
And this is going to be unsuspected from Swiper for a couple of reasons. A, Graves normally does full clears. He's one of the safest junglers. He farms very, very quickly and doesn't really lend that much CC to a lane. So that's why you normally see him full clear the jungle. At the same time, Swiper already warded out the river because he knows he's going to be pushed up. However, because Spooks didn't take topside Scuttle Crab, didn't offer him that protection, there was the dash over the wall. And there is enough CC that comes out of Gragas at this point in the game with Flash Body Slam, as well as that Q going to go down and allow for the movement speed slow, that you can take Cannon off the Rift. Really onus on Swiper right now to be able to dodge that combo, otherwise he will die.
It's also curious to see what level he's going to be when this gank comes through, because Cannons, they either go a little bit more passive by picking up the Lightning Rush at level 2 so they can escape those ganks, but sometimes if you're pushing out and you want to be a bit more aggressive, you take your W or your Shuriken, and that's going to be dangerous to Swiper if he's already done that.
Generally, you should start W and go for the harass, and then you should take E, because you have very little AP at this stage of the game, and Q just doesn't do all that much. So I would be very surprised if he's picked up the Q. It's kind of like Renekton, where you start Q and then go E straight away. You have to be safe in that lane. As you can see, it looks like it's Fantix's computer that we're working on right now. However, it depends whether he's at level 3 or level 2. So we'll be able to check that out. Looks like he's pushing in, so he should at least have the experience advantage, you would have to think, for Swiper. But I mean, Graves at the moment doesn't take Thunderlords anymore, so we'll be able to keep up with him with the Storm Raiders and really be able to chase him down that long lane.
And as much as Graves is one of those junglers that likes to go for full clears, you know, clear his side of the map, reset, pick up a couple of items and continue to snowball that way, Shernfire is a very aggressive jungler himself. So Swiper might have a feeling or two that he could be right behind him.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, he is aggressive, but he's not normally an aggressive ganker. He's an aggressive invader. And when I saw him, I thought that, maybe he was going to try and challenge top side of the map. Of course, that wouldn't be the case because Spooks is a Raptor starter generally on Lee Sin. So Sherm would know that. I mean, we had a lot of games of Spooks Lee Sin at League of Origin that Sherm would just be able to pull up footage. Of course, Sharp was a coach of the Vic squad as well, so would have been able to see Sam put in that work. So we'll see whether this is something that they really are able to read, because I think that this is unsurprising. I was surprised when he went for this early game.
Well, let's see what happens in the top lane for him. It feels like he has to get something rolling for his team on the top side of the map now after that start in the bottom lane for the Direwolves, because King sent back to base really early. Now the Chiefs bottom lane have a massive lead.
And the problem is if he shows and he doesn't get the kill, Spooks is just going to go straight to his double golems. And if you take away double golems or the Raptor camp early, you get such a big golden experience advantage. And it is very hard to catch up from that, because as soon as you're a level up on Lee Sin, you're able to 1v1 the Graves pretty effortlessly. So we'll see whether that is something that Shern is able to do. It's such an interesting matchup, the Chiefs versus the Direwolves, because you have a team that's kind of built around pushing lanes and a jungler in the Direwolves, and then you have a team in the Chiefs that really is Spooks is a facilitator. I mean, he's there to prop up losing lanes or help a bad lane through a matchup, maybe camp out Swiffer's lane if he gets any freedom. They really are clashing playstyles in that regard, and right now, Shern has made the first move.
He certainly has. So we'll have to see what's going to happen to the top side of the map for the Direwolves and how Spooks is going to impact the bottom side of the map once he shows top lane. Because even if Shern gets a successful gank top side, if Spooks can make his way into the bottom lane and the Direwolves push out, that could potentially be 2 kills for the Chiefs.
Yeah, it certainly could be. The other thing to note is that Kennen doesn't really lose the lane after 1 kill. I mean, he's going to come back. He's still going to be annoying. Probably going to go towards a cull if he has enough of the gold, and then just continue to spam out. I mean, really, Gragas will start being able to shrug off the harass at triple ring as well as Boots 2 pick up, probably the tabbies coming through. But it's never going to be like that effortless lane for Gragas. He always has to be careful. Yep. So an early kill is definitely nice. It will get Shern ahead and allow him to continue start that snowball. But really, as you said, for the Direwolves, the big worry here has to be the fact that King is behind half a level. And if you ever give up that experience advantage in the bottom lane, they hit level 6 before you on both champions, especially Xayah Rakan can spell big worries at that mark.
Especially when you're up against Raze and Ejim, 2 players that have played these champions time and time again. Unfortunately, we're still in this pause. As you can see on the screen, it's potentially an FPS issue, I believe, with the Direwolves computers. You can see Victor right behind them, trying to fix as many of them as possible. But unfortunately, we're going to be some time before we can get back into this game.
Yeah, we've been let know it's going to be about 5 minutes. We'll see whether that is the case. We'll keep you guys updated as we find out more. The Xayah Rakan lane was interesting on the early aggression, because normally on Xayah you see Q picked up first to try and get the early push, but you saw that they actually went with a W start, which is a lot more extra harass damage. I want to see if they play this again, whether that is because of a melee start or just because they got that very good engage from the Rakan.
It also helps out because of the matchup, Xayah Rakan synergy. When you pop W on Xayah, Rakan gets it as well, so at level 1 gives you plenty of attack speed to do that extra bit of damage you need.
Yeah, it certainly does. And there are so many cool interactions between these champions. You're going to see that also Rakan gets a longer range on that E, going to be able to dash very far out of the team fight. It catches you off guard a lot of the time, as well as the recall that, able to join each other, get back to base at the same time. So it is very interesting that we're seeing them played at the same time with all those synergistic elements.
And we'll get to see more of those interactions later on, but for now, we're still in this pause. So to bring you guys through this one, let's send it back to the analyst desk.
Strong start to OPL. Split 2 2017. Thank you, the casters. T-Gun, Rusty. I want to start in this pause by asking you guys about Fish, because he's misquoted you. Well, he's attributed your quote to someone else, T-Gun.
Yes,
he has. Elaborate?
Yes, he has. So at State of Origin, we saw Ejim play Rakan.
Please, League of Origin, please.
Sorry. It's the only Origin for me.
Sure.
And I argued with Ejim and Destiny pretty aggressively, saying Spell Thieves is what you take when you can poke the enemy, not coin. And they both said, no, T-Gun, you're an idiot.
It's a separate issue.
Obviously.
And here we are.
Well, that may happen, right? That may happen to be true. He's taken Spell Thieves.
Yeah.
He's taken Spell Thieves.
And then Fish comes on stream.
Fish has decided to say that it wasn't me.
Yeah.
And I am
misattributed.
I am angry. I'm very angry right now that the one thing I've done properly in quite a while. All right, I don't do much correct, but this happened.
All right.
Has
Well,
been
all right.
misattributed.
Let the record show that it was you who suggested Spell Thieves over Coin, not Ejim. But let's talk about the Chiefs bot lane. So Zyra Khan, we've seen it for the first time. They got an early. They burnt King's Flash early. So is this kind of? I mean, you've obviously played against it and as Rakan a bit in solo queue and around the trap. So is this kind of how you expect things to go?
No, I didn't expect it at all. I think that Direwolves expected Ejim to start E, which is his shield, or maybe even Q, which is his heal. So when he started the W and got the knock up on King, it was really just unexpected, and they just ran them down and burnt the summoners. And that was really smart by the Chiefs to just take that sort of line of play into it.
Yeah, of course. And going for Courage of the Colossus with your Rakan as well, naturally at level 1, if you hit the knock-up, you're going to be able to win the trades. When you've got Xayah, it was mentioned on the caster desk that you've got extra attack speed and just on-hit damage. Braum, very reliant at level 1 on getting the 4 hits off with his teammate. But if someone starts the skirmish knocked up, then you 100% lose that trade and have to back away. Braum wants to hit the level 2 mark, so he has the shield, or they'll just outright lose.
Right. Well, there you go. Okay. Well, I think we are ready to go back into the game. So thank you for your insights. But it's now time to hand it back to your casters, Spawn and Fish.
Thanks, King is Rusty and that other guy. We're about to get back into this game real quick. Thankfully, I believe this pause has been resolved here.
I actually really like these intermissions where we just send it back to the desk, they hang some shit on Fish, and then they just toss it back to us. Like, that was one of the best pause breakdowns I've ever seen.
I still have no idea because I did not reference anything Tegan said because I knew he was very vocal about Spell Thieves. Destiny is very vocal about Coin. Ejim was on both sides of the story, and the only thing I focused on was Ejim because that's the person playing Rakan
Tegan
here
is
today.
actually ripping out his hair in front of me right now. He might be bald when we get back to the analyst desk. I don't know. Because and you're upsetting a man that is about 3 times bigger than you, by the way. So I'll just watch yourself, Fish.
I can bench Tegan. That's all right. We're hopefully getting back into this game real quick as Tegan walks right past us.
Please, please get me back into this game because, it's going to be interesting to see whether it works out, however, because there is one thing about saying you can harass out, but it does lack the sustain that generally Coin brings you, a little bit more regen coming in there for the health pool. So it will be interesting because if anything goes wrong down in that bottom lane, Ejim might be a little bit stuck to trouble.
Definitely could be. I like one point we'll get into that point later when we focus on the bottom lane more because Shonefire is right behind Swiper.
Here we go.
Should look at that a little bit closely first as Chippy's going to be chasing him forward. They are level 3, so Lightning Rush has gone through. Stun comes out on towards him. Body pop, flash forward. Slow does not connect, but they do burn Swiper's splash. That will force him back to base.
I mean, that's still absolutely fine because you got Chippy's flash out of it as well. Swiper's just going to be able to go back to base. The wave's pushing into Chippy, so he has a mini freeze there. But as I said, not picking up the kill means that all of a sudden Spooks has access to that bottom side of the jungle, is able to get some good deep vision, as well as take away the Krug. So you now know that underneath this turret, they can harass pretty much whenever they want.
Yep. King moves up with Destiny, sees that the Krugs have been taken, only one small Krug left remaining. King's going to try and pick that one up for himself. He is taking so much harass underneath these turrets. Level 2 at the moment, resets
you hate to see it.
That's not great.
Yeah, and now all these creeps aren't really set up either. And as we keep saying, the harass that will come out from Zyra Rakan underneath turrets is pretty strong. Need to watch out for using too much mana here, though, does Ray. And they're also just missing creeps.
At about half the mana now in the bottom lane for Raze and Ejim, who are constantly keeping the smoke up, making sure they keep King and Destiny locked down underneath this turret. This kind of frees up Spooks to move where he wants to and just kind of shadow Shonefire almost.
Yeah, it certainly does, but at the same time, Shern has timed out the Raptor camp really nicely here. So he's going to be able to take one away at the same time. So it catches up in that experience as well as the CS. Now we'll get back to base. You can see that Spooks already has his shop there. And Chippy's burnt the teleport as well. So everything across the board, pretty even.
Ejim tries to go for an engage down in the bottom lane. Destiny puts up the shield and blocks the majority of those feathers. So trades back and forth, both expending mana, but nothing else.
And you can see that mid lane as well. Something's gone a little bit awry for the Chiefs because Swift is behind in CS and is also getting pushed into his turret. That doesn't normally happen in many Taliyah matchups.
One thing we usually see in this Vitamin matchup is the mid laners taking either teleport or ignite, either to stay in lane a little bit longer or use the ignite for kill pressure. Swiffer has gone for Ghost, and he's gone Storm Raider Surge on Taliyah as well.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Not even a Thunderlords to try and win out the lane in the poke. Much more of a team fight kind of build. You can see that right now they're pinging out. Spooks would be on top side of the map. They've just got the wrong side. They think he's a Krugs. He's actually just taken away the Gromp from Shern, and now potentially looking for a gank here.
There is no flash available for Chippies.
Chippies is pushed up a long way.
Spooks will have to take some turret damage if he goes behind him. Seems like he wants to recall and head back to base. Swiper is content with just harassing and farming out here. Spooks does end up going back to base. Shernfire will now spot that his camp has been taken away. Chippies does have a slight experience advantage at the moment. Again, engage on towards Destiny. Braum just takes no damage when he tried to get any form of harass or engage down on towards him.
And if you're the Chiefs duo lane, you have to get a little bit nervous here because you just force back King at level 1. He didn't even get to have access to the first creep wave, and yet you were still equal on CS. That's a little bit strange. Should be at least like half a wave up. The other thing is that they're starting to lose some of these trades just because they're engaging onto the Braum. And you can see, as soon as you engage onto the Braum, it just throws up the door. All the feathers kind of just do nothing.
Yep.
So a little bit worrisome for the Chiefs.
And as we mentioned at the start of the game, the onus is on the Chiefs to get ahead early on in this match. Top lane's completely even, bottom lane's becoming very even as well. And the mid lane's going slightly in Fantic's favor. So not looking good for the Chiefs at the moment, especially with the gold lead so close. Just 100 gold separating the two teams. And in fact, it's Direwolves with that slight lead.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, it's just completely even right now. Across the board, you can see that mid lane is going to be where a little bit of the gold is held. He's up by about 8 CS, so that's a creep wave. At the same time, Spooks is pretty even with Shern in the jungle, even though Lee Sin should not be able to farm as quick as the Graves. So that's where everything's being held right now. Invade coming in on the red buff, though. Spooks does not have Smite, so he's going to have to back away, although he does have the quicker collapse out of mid lane.
He also has the execute from his Q, but Shernfire is a level up above Spooks. Swiffer is nice and healthy. Fancy is chugging through his final health potion as well as using the Doran's shield.
I mean, he's healthy, but he has no mana. So really, what can he do if he engages over there? He's probably going to have 2 spell rotations. At the same time, Shern looking for Swiper again. Hasn't timed this very well, however, as the flash is back available, and he's already got the ultimate. So it's very hard to all-in Kenneth at this stage because he just stuns you up, and then you can't really do all that much.
He has put a lot of pressure on the Chiefs, though. As you can see, Swiffer has moved into the jungle trying to assist Spooks, ducking back into Fog of War. Shernfire is now going to work on his own blue buff. He should be taking that for himself. I doubt Fantix will pick this up.
And it just allows Graves to farm quickly. It's actually one of the best things you can do for a Graves is give him access to a couple of blue buffs, either the enemy or your own if your mid laner doesn't need it. So really like the fact that they're doing that. Ejim goes for 2 very aggressive wards here. Destiny probably going to pink out that brush, although he actually doesn't have one. So I think that's a little bit of a mistake. Returning to lane with just Sightstone, and now he's going to be caught out here by Raze.
Raze going to throw out the feathers, locks him down, gets some poke damage, but no follow-up from either player. Ejim is still level 5. Both King and Destiny, who were half a level behind, have caught up. And Ejim's now the one that's behind this lane.
Yeah, you have to think that maybe that gives Raze a little bit of a experience lead. Ejim is very well known for just leaving the experience. You can see that now he catches up, catch-up mechanics. Pretty OP in League of Legends at the moment. And really, across the board, everything is just incredibly even. And you would expect Chiefs to have won top side of the map pretty heavily, but thanks to Jern's early pathing, has been able to get, the Gragas on even footing, as well as the Vladimir actually ahead.
Meanwhile, Spooks is able to give blue buff over towards Swiffer. Let's see if that changes the dynamics of this mid lane. Was falling slightly behind Fantix in farm, and Fantix will slowly starting to get an even footing in trades as well. He's going for his Proto Belt as soon as he possibly can. Already Swiffer trying to shove him back. There is some good damage from Talia, able to constantly harass this Vladimir. This is what we expected from the start of this lane.
Certainly is, and all of a sudden now you have a big wave built up. Fantix going to be able to be harassed. Second teleport actually used into the top lane bit. So a lot of pressure now bottom if Chippies is able to just walk back to lane. And as he has such a big creep wave there, actually Swiper pulls it back, so does the right thing.
But they're going for an engaged bottom. So many feathers thrown out. They lock down the Varus. Spooks is already here, jumping on top of Destiny. Good use of his ultimate to knock them all back. And they lock down Zaya as well. Raze taking so much damage from the Winter's Bite. That's a forced gank bottom lane when Chippy's had his teleport available.
Yeah, it certainly was. However, Chippy's got all in out of Swiper, and he also nearly died. So across the board, Chiefs get ahead in a couple of engages. Now maybe look towards a Dragon pickup as they have got everything pushing in. Although with no summoner spells out of the jungler as well as the bottom lane duo. Would be an aggressive move.
So teleport is used by Chippies to get back into his lane, and that was a very nice engage coming out from Raze. We see the Xayahs not use a lot defensively to avoid spells. He used it offensively so he can get on top of King and Destiny without being crowd controlled and locking both of them down for Spooks as well as Egypt to catch up.
Exactly right. And off the back end of that, they will actually take the Dragon just because they were incredibly healthy. You can see that Swiffer actually going to be backing on a ward here. Shern's going to face check him. Shern needs to be careful.
Where he's out the smoke screen. And will duck away from Swiffer, who still has his blue buff. He's caught up in CS since picking up the blue buff, but it's just been a farming lane between these two so far.
Yeah, and you have to wonder how much of this is just the strength of Duran's shield fish. What we thought would have been a very good harass lane for Swiffer turned into a pretty easy sustain lane, honestly. And you can see now Chippies actually has the purchases that we were talking about before the game. Ooh, Shern.
Smite away that final Raptor and be absolutely fine, but you're right, Chippies has picked up his triple Doran's ring as well as the Ninja Tabby, so he's going to be completely fine in this lane now. Until Swiper picks up his way of the Ruined King, he will have some sustain from the Bilgewater Cutlass, but not enough to keep up with Gragas at this point in time.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, and Gragas is going to go towards Iceborne Gauntlet, so his wave clear gets even better, honestly. Love the mini roller build out of Gragas at the moment. Just gives you a lot more options than you previously had in the matchup. And you can see that Chippies is actually using it to bully out Swiper.
Yep. As we mentioned, as soon
missed a cannon creep. That was experience and everything. Like, I know that the cannon creep gold is kind of turning into a meme, but missing out experience on cannon creep is pretty bad.
Yep. And this is a melee champion zoning out a range champion, something you don't usually see.
You can see that he's just clearing with the barrels. Has been able to max that one up. And Swiper went the traditional AD cannon build. I think it's only really Marin that's playing the AV cannon at the moment. Allows Chippies to have some really easy itemization here.
As I mentioned, Swiper needs to pick up a couple more items, but with this cheap build from Chippies, it's very inexpensive, keeps him online for such a long period of time, which you really need against Kenneth, but mid lane.
Flashes.
Fantic's going for an all-in, trying to take down Swiffer, both of them trading fairly equally, but some of the spells burnt across the board.
And all of a sudden, Shern's face check Spooks. Does have to get the heck out of there. You can see that his duo lane's moving up, and no response really out of the Chiefs as of yet.
And this is a great play from the Direwolves. They know they've got an advantage mids, and they take
Here
over the jungle. But look at this, going for the engage. Spook's going to get there first, but Shernfire's there as well. King and Destiny very low, but look at Egypt himself. First blood is picked up by Shernfire. They lock down the Xayah and Rakan as well. Egypt's only the last person alive for the Chiefs, and then engage goes completely wrong for the Chiefs.
Really nice engage out of Egypt. Actually was able to get the RW combo off pretty flawlessly, but Spooks kicked away King, and in the end, King was able to turn around with so much damage. You can see now they're potentially going to throw Egypt back in there with the wall out of Taliyah. The threaten is enough to keep them off the turret, so whilst they're able to pick up 2 kills and 1,000 gold lead, will not get first brick just yet. But you have to think this is warning sides, because we think the scaling is already on the Direwolf side, and that's a big first play.
It seems like a very poor attempt from me there, but let's look at that fight one more time.
So this is what we're talking about. Able to get the ult onto 2 members, gets a big knock-up, but then for some reason, Spooks just kicks away King, and that means that Shern comes in with so much damage at this stage of the game. They're able to pick up 2 kills, and you have to think that Spooks has made a couple of mistakes with kicks so far in this game. First game probably should have been a kill. Ooh, that's nice harass.
That is aggressive. Chippy's knocking Swiper back into a fully charged barrel.
I mean, now he can turret dive him if he wants to, so going to force him off another wave. Chippies has taken control of this matchup. Very well known for his aggressive laning phase and playing carries, but this time looks absolutely fine on the tank.
Let's see if that forces teleport out of Swiper. You probably won't, unless Chippy stays for this wave.
Even then, I mean, you just can't burn 3 teleports into lane.
Another aggressive move from the Chiefs here. Egypt taking the brunt of the damage. Shernfire's already on top of him. Here comes Fantix. The red buff is ticking, but he gets King from behind. Shoots out a couple of arrows. We'll pick up that one. Swiffer's now going to die to the Ignite coming out from Fantix as well. Raze is trying to run away. This is a disaster for the Chiefs so far. Chippies is teleported in, up behind Swiper. Destiny's on top of him, gets the Witness Bride, gets him to stand behind Brong as the man with the barrel will slowly headbutt him down. Destiny lives, and that's an early ace for the Direwolves.
And the Chiefs are being absolutely destroyed, Fish. This is why the Direwolves should be the favorites coming into the season. Just individual outplays across the board. Chiefs not able to win their lanes, and now with this terrifying team comp coming online, I mean, there's not really much you can do against a late game Vlad.
Certainly not. 7-1 in kills. It's a 4,500 gold lead for the Direwolves, and they get the first turret. Most crucially, it's a mid lane turret that the Direwolves take down.
Exactly right. Rift Herald is also still up, so they can push out the mid lane. They're already winning top. Go take the Rift Herald whenever they want and just really rip the guts out of this game. Chiefs don't really have that many options left. I mean, they're not even really doing aggressive builds. And engaging onto a Braum just seems like a little bit of a strange decision here. Spook's caught on the back line. As you say, King able to get in there with the flank, and just no one can kill Fantix. He's an absolute monster already at 15 minutes into this game.
It's just so curious to me. You already mentioned, engaging on towards the Braum, already a questionable decision, but they had full view of Fantix in the mid lane.
And that's really poor out of Raze.
Held on flash for so long.
Yeah, and now Swipe is going to be taken down in line.
Caught out, King of Destiny rotate towards the top side of the map, catch out Swiper, and Schoenfire's there to help out his team in case they got into any trouble.
They're going to try and dive the Gragas. He is pretty tanky right now.
Oh, he's going for it. Let's see. Spook's going to lock him down. Swiffer gets out of turret range. This should be a kill for the Chiefs. That's well executed, but still, turret trade top side of the map goes in favor of the Direwolves.
I mean, it's going to be a 1-for-1, and potentially they're going to trade turrets if Swiffer stays down there. It's just whether the Rakan and Xayah can defend this structure. It's going to be very dangerous. You can see already that Fantix heading down. Ooh!
Ejim going for the engage. King gets locked down by the charm into the knockup, but it's a 3-on-2 for the moment. Chiefs fancy their chances. They will repel Direwolves from that second turret, but they didn't take down the bottom lane outer.
Yeah, they certainly didn't. So in the end, it is going to be Direwolves coming out ahead, still holding on to that 5,000 gold lead. Ejim's mechanics on the Rakan are still really impressive. The problem is that there's just no follow-up for it right now. They're lacking in damage. They're behind across the board. King has picked up 3 kills in this early game. And potentially it's going to be Rift Herald picked up. Really, only Swiffer can match the Gragas at this stage just because of how much armor he has. And no one can match Fantix.
And this is where Swiper's meant to come into play. He's meant to be able to go in those one-on-one lanes, sustain against either the Vlad or the Gragas, who are heavy sustained champions, but he just can't.
Look, he just takes no damage. Normally when you see Taliyah at this stage of the game, she's going to be able to shove out really hard. She's going to be able to get there first with the wall. And Fantix just does not give a damn about Swiffer.
Going for the engage again. Goes for the all-in, despite being low on health. Flash away from Swiffer. Nice and early, make sure he doesn't take any more damage. Now fancies his chances against Fantix, going for the 1-on-1.
Bringing in Spooks as well. Duo lane heading down.
Flash forward, here comes Spooks. Doesn't tag him with the Q as Fantix goes into the Sanguine pool to avoid all that.
Went for the flash kick there, and you could see that straight away Fantix still had pull available, gets 3 summoner spells out, only burns 1 in return, and opens up that bottom side of the map. Really nicely played out of the mid laner of the Direwolves.
Direwolves are playing fantastically in their first game back in the OPL. As you mentioned, favorites coming into this game, and rightfully so, showing their dominance again against the Chiefs.
I mean, I think it depends who you talk to. People had high hopes for this Chiefs squad. However, really is showing that Direwolves are here to prove that they're a legitimate contender again. And I think that they deserve that respect. I'm just not sure many people were giving it to them. And not much has changed from the grand final to week 1, it turns out.
Sure has not. Schoenfire. He mentioned he wanted revenge after their lackluster performance at MSI. Kicking it off with a win in week 1 of the OPL is definitely a good way to start just that. The Chiefs are going to try and sneak away a Rift Herald. Let's see if they can use that effectively to try and close this goal lead.
Gragas is over. They know he's here. So they can bring in the mid lane duo as well. They can get over the wall if they want, but can they actually get access to the buff?
Chippies tries to steal it, but good smite from Spooks will stop that from happening. Spooks will still pick up the Rift Herald buff. Now I'm curious to see how the Chiefs are going to use this.
Did Spooks just miss a Q on a red buff?
Yes.
Because if he did, that's a tilter. That is actually just legitimately one of those plays that feels really bad. And you can see that they're going to give up bottom lane turret because no one is responding to Fantix down there. I mean, no one can respond to Fantix down there. Farming ahead of the clock at Vladimir. 2 early kills. They're going to go towards the Spirit Visage, and Raze gets left behind. Has a chuckle about it.
I didn't think that was very funny. I'd be mad.
I mean, should have got in the zone.
Spooks meanwhile is going to clear out the rest of his Raptor. The Chiefs are still about 7,000 gold behind the Direwolves, which is 20 minutes in is a massive gold lead.
Absolute, that's a huge gold lead. You can see the big majority of it is going to be in the AD carry position. About 4,000 of the gold is just in the duo lane. Yep. And then everywhere else, another 1,000.
crucially, though, it's spread out quite nicely for the Direwolves. Yes, there's a big advantage for King and as well as Destiny, but everybody's getting a piece of the pie. So there's not one person that Chiefs can say, okay, if we kill this guy, we neutralize that gold advantage they have.
Sure, but I think if you kill Fantix, you get a good chunk of the way there.
Good luck.
He's not that far, he's not that far ahead, but I think that in any comp that contains a Vladimir, if you kill the Vladimir, you have a chance in the team fight. If you don't kill the Vladimir, he generally kills everyone.
Well, good luck killing that Vladimir.
Oh, I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm just telling you what the goal needs to be.
There's no no health mitigation stats coming out from the Chiefs except for the one Ignite from Ejin.
Yeah, normally you see Morelli Nomicon picked up really early against Vladimir's. Instead, it is going to look to be something like Burning Face picked up from Swiffer.
No execution is falling by either Swiper or Raze.
Yeah, I mean, that's not going to come in for a little while. If you build execution is falling too early, you just, especially when you're behind, you just do no damage to anyone else. So they're not really looking to team fight right now. When they are, you expect them to go towards at least one Mortal Reminder. Once again, they don't want to go back together. I mean, Raze just shopped, so it doesn't really make that much sense. You can see that he's actually going towards what looks to be double Zeal item. The reason I say that is he's going for a rapid fire cannon or something like a static shiv. Obviously, has another dagger as well. So potentially double Zeal. You can see that they've popped Rift Herald actually in the jungle. It's going to start from so far back, and they're looking to take bottom lane turret with it. Would be their first turret of the game.
Almost feels like they were forced to pop it there.
Yeah, they were. I mean, it was timing out.
Expire.
But they still started, and it's far enough back that if they're going to be able to get one charge onto the turret, should be able to pick it up. You can see that Chippy's doing the right thing, instead focusing on the creep wave.
So one charge from that Rift Herald will take out the turret.
And they've actually brought down Churn, so they're not going to get absolutely anything out of this.
Chippies will take that down nice and easy before it can even get a single charge onto the turret. So Rift Herald wasted here by the Chiefs, almost forced out of them.
I mean, and this makes sense. If Swiper is winning that one-on-one, it's a good Rift Herald because he's going to be able to chip Chippies out. Wow, that's a really bad sentence. He's going to be able to, you know, chunk out Chippies and then force it onto the turret. However, because Chippies is just so confident at this stage of the game, definitely not the case. And Chiefs actually being forced out of top side of the jungle as well means that they're not winning the split push. They're not going to be able to get access to any of the Baron. Vision is denied. Direwolves can just rotate between mid and top and look to close this one out very cleanly. Has been a, honestly, great performance so far from the squad.
Near flawless from the Direwolves so far, except for that level 1-5 bottom lane. Even then, they were able to mitigate the disadvantage they had nice and early, but there's an engage from the Chiefs, forcing them underneath this turret. Teleport will come in from Chippies nice and early. They lock down Rakan straight away. They get the first kill already. Raze will flash away from that. Swiper's in the middle of the team. Big stuns, but is it going to be enough? It's not. King somehow survives. Swiffer is going to try and run away from Fantix, who's chasing him down. Spooks will tag him with the Q, but the Direwolves have already got 2 kills in this fight.
And that was a near perfect engage. They're able to get the big combo. Spooks, you're dead. That gives them access to Baron as well.
Too many slows coming out from Chippies. Fantix gets the transfusion to take the little bit of blood left in Spooks away. Swiffer now is going to get locked down as well. King throws out a couple of barrels, a couple of arrows, as you say, and Fantix just chases him down. 4 kills for the Wolves.
I mean, they just look so polished. They're going to have a tank that is available here to start up the Baron. It is warded. However, teleport was used. Only 2 members available in the Xayah and Rakan. They're not that low fish that this is a contestable Baron, unless they're able to kill Shern somehow, and it just does not look to be the case. I mean, Chiefs have to give this one up, as well as a 12,000 gold lead at 24 minutes into the game.
It's got to be a miracle steal here, but it's not going to happen. Fantix Smite secures the Baron. 12-2 in kills, 4-0 in turrets, with an 11,000 gold lead and Baron buff ticking for the next 3.5 minutes.
And let's have a look at this again. 3 people get charmed up there. Ejim is on the back line, actually gets a 5-man charm nearly in the end. And you can see that the problem is no one does damage. They're flashing in, they're really trying to force this one. That looked like an AP cannon move, not going to lie. In the middle of 3 people, he just gets absolutely destroyed. And then, unfortunately, the sustain is there, the tankiness is there, and there's just no damage on the Chiefs. There's no way that they can really win a team fight at the moment. And it doesn't get easy as the game goes on.
After this, they got the kill towards Swiffer, move towards Baron. They took that. Now Mountain Dragon is going to be picked up by the Direwolves. Their 2nd Dragon of the game, 3rd Elemental of this match.
I mean, and they can take anything they want, really, at this stage. The map is their oyster. They really have put on a clinic in this game 1. And the big question now becomes, what is the change in game 2? Because the Chiefs felt like they got drafted into a corner behind mid lane being such a focal point. They had no answer left for the Vladimir. Looked like they did not suspect it at all, which is strange because Fantix has always been a huge Vlad player. And there was just a ticking time bomb put on this match.
And Direwolves' draft looked fantastic. It looked like the onus was on the Chiefs to get ahead, which you never really want to be in that spot. And on top of that, every single lane as well as the jungle just did well for the Direwolves, despite early advantages going towards the Chiefs.
And you can see that Spooks, looking for the desperation play, is in behind them. However, no one else really available. They just don't care.
They just find Swiffer. They lock him out. He'll get taken down to kick the fight off. Mid lane inhibitor turret is already gone. Egypt tries to jump up as many people as possible. Good stun locks coming out from the Chiefs, but it doesn't matter. Spooks is that next target. Feathers have been thrown out. Swiper's next. No one from the Direwolves are dead as 5 members strong. They're going to push for the win here. Only Ray's left to try and stop them.
And they just don't do enough damage at this stage of the game. Direwolves come in game 1, 14,000 gold lead, 26 minutes in. They're going to take it.
And the Wolfpack's former member of Rays watches helplessly as the Direwolves take down his Nexus. Direwolves go up 1-0.
I mean, if there is a statement to be made in the OPL, kicking the absolute crap out of the Chiefs in game 1 is definitely that for the Direwolves. And you can see they are smiling in response.
And we already heard it from Rays. Like, this is the most important match for them. They're not too worried about week 2 to week 9. It's week 1 and 10 when they have to play the Direwolves. Those are the important games for them at the moment. Dropping game 1 in a best-of-3 series and not a great start for the Chiefs.
And I mean, just juxtapose those two people. I mean, you see Fantix, big grin. You know that he is very active on the roster as a captain. That's the 2 captains of the Chiefs, Swiffer and Spooks. They're kind of looking at each other like, what the hell do we do? I mean, look like they had strong lanes. Look like they got everything they want. Priority pick of the Zyra Rakan. That was definitely a curveball because not many people have played against it, and it just did not work.
Yep, it seems like every single aspect of the Direwolves play was near perfect, except for that level 1 play bottom lane, but it didn't even cost them that much. King and Destiny caught up nice and fine.
I mean, it should have cost them a lot. I mean, they got forced off wave number 1. Experience lead was to the Chiefs, gave Spooks access to the bottom side of the map, and Swiper didn't die. But in the end, King and Destiny were just able to withstand it. A couple of good skirmishes kicked off by Shern, and they were right back in the game.
Yep, great solo lane mechanics coming out from Direwolves. Perfect team play from them as well. They pick up near flawless game against the Chiefs. To break down that game 1, let's send it back to the analyst desk.
Thank you, Fish. Thank you, Spawn. Well, gentlemen, the smart money was on Direwolves. It turns out smart money was good money, and your heart was wrong yet again, Tigan.
Yet again?
Well, I mean, just, you know.
Come on.
You seem like a guy's been heartbroken before. I don't know that for a fact.
Just got heartbroken right now.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to do this to you. No, let's talk about this game. I mean, that is a statement game from the Direwolves. This is game 1, week 1, and they say, look at us. We are the team to beat for the rest of the split after that.
Yeah. And it's really hard to sort of take anything away from Direwolves that game. They just played really well the whole time, aside from the poor level 1. All my notes just say, you know, Chiefs did good things and then had really, really poor execution. I think that was just the tale of the game, was good ideas, bad execution.
Yeah, I'm happy to echo that as well, right? Their execution was actually quite poor, and we'll see examples of that as we go through. But from the get-go, it felt like it was just clean and easy from the Direwolves, and no matter what the Chiefs tried to do, whether it was execution from them or whether it was just the Direwolves playing around it better, is always going to be up for debate from this, because I was still quite impressed with the Direwolves.
I mean, was there something broader for you guys when you're looking at just how these teams are approaching this game? I mean, the Direwolves said, look, we have retooled our entire practice, and we're trying to be more effective in the way we play. Chiefs, meanwhile, are saying, look, we're here and we're hungry. I mean, it felt like the Direwolves did look a much stronger team, and the Chiefs did not seem as hungry as maybe we thought they should have been.
I mean, I'd almost argue the other way.
Sure.
Is that the Direwolves were playing more slowly and just letting the map happen, trying to scale up, because that's what their composition was designed to do. They had the Vladimir, they were always going to hit late game team fighting extremely well, and they had the Graves that was trying to out-farm, whereas the Chiefs felt almost more hyphy, like they had to make the plays. They were forced into making decisions, and that's where things started to go poorly.
We can see that might be a poor thing for them getting hyphy, but at the same time, there was a lot of champs that they wanted to play. Like,
yeah.
Ejim has been very, very vocal about wanting to play Rakan, and generally when you play champs that you really want to play, you play better.
Yeah.
And he was playing well. Even the cast touched on it, saying his mechanics were looking really good. It was just...
I mean, Spawn and Ejim have said, we are going to be the best Zyra Rakan duo on the server, and obviously Ejim's holding up his end of the bargain. Anyway, yeah. But yeah, no. What? What?
No,
I think he said.
That's definitely a Spawn thing to say. I can't actually contest that.
Yeah.
I 100% believe you.
Yeah. But sorry, I interrupted you. But you were saying Egypt was playing well on Rakan.
Yeah, it's just, even if he plays really well, there's a ceiling to how he can play on that champion, especially when he's playing against a Braum whose whole identity revolves around just saying, "Oh, that's enough. I'm going to stop you right here, and you can't go any further."
Well, I want to talk about this this pick ban phase, this draft phase, because picking the Braum into Zaira Khan. I mean, Sharp said, "Look, we haven't had a lot of practice against Zaira Khan, but you know, Braum definitely blocks all those feathers."
Yeah. There's nothing you can do for Zaya. Yeah. Once the shield goes up, all the feathers stop in front of it, and we touched it upstairs. A lot of Zaya's damage is backloaded into the E. I can't remember what it's called for the life of me. I'm a player, not a caster, excuse me. But if the feathers all stop in front of you and you don't get any damage out of it, you don't do anything. And that's what happened. Braum just completely stopped their lane.
And Zaya excels when they come at you. And for the most part, everyone else on that team that wasn't in the laning phase was going to kill you if they came at you. I don't actually like the Zaya pick here, primarily because they first picked it. And I don't think there was any value in that. They could have went for the Lee Sin Rakan duo and have been happy with their first rotation. Got the jungler and support. Look at what the response was going to be because they first picked Gragas Direwolves. And Gragas is countered by Braum. Maybe they even wanted to pick that themselves, the Chiefs. Like, there's options there. But they buried themselves in this hole by going for the duo bottom lane and trying their best to make it work. When ultimately, I think Caitlyn just would have been better than Zaya in almost every way in this game. Because you still win bottom lane. You still scale better up. You've got better lane control.
Yeah.
The way the level 1 played out could have even been better.
But you don't have that sweet recall time.
Imagine that.
You don't have really cool voiceover lines.
Yeah, exactly, guys.
Because
Come on.
that's why we pick them.
Exactly.
That's why I pick it.
Pro play. Well, you know. All right. Well, I also want to talk about the bans, and we'll get graphics up in a second. But I know you guys said early on, look, it's going to be a lot of jungle bans. You saw Zach, you saw Elise. We also talked about the possibility of a Thresh ban. That definitely came out. So I guess hats off to you guys for predicting this well.
I mean, for what it's worth, T-Gun, we said it was the other team that was going to ban the Thresh.
Yeah.
So
We didn't think that Direwolves would ban it off themselves, but we did say coming into it that their draft phase would be heavily influenced by Korean, by Chinese play, and that's what they've been doing over there. I believe you said that in the LPL, Thresh was reaching near 100% ban rate, something like that.
Picked or banned.
And that must be where they've sort of drawn their inspiration from.
And the final thing I want to talk about with this draft is just so many mid lane bans. I think we saw 5 in total. Orianna, Kassadin, Cassiopeia. I mean, so that kind of limited the champ pool for Swiffer to be able to pick against the Vlad. So he's picked up Talia. Now, did that kind of matchup go how you'd expect it to?
I mean, the matchup goes as standard where one of them will push. Vladimir just tries to hold on. He has Doran Shield now, so it's a bit better for him in the middle lane. But for me, I look at the Talia pick, and I actually do think that that was the wrong pick. Whilst it is a good champion into Vladimir, it has decent roaming, the ability to move around the map. I see it as just good bans from Direwolves forcing the champion out of Swiffer. Taking rid of like 6 mid lane champions, I believe, total. Getting rid of the Orianna, it helped a lot.
All right. Well, sorry. Do you want to...
Just one thing about it is while... You're right, and it was the wrong pick in this game. Are we being results biased? Because it could be the right pick if he gets roams off early and actually gets utility out of it, instead of just doing what he did, which was basically nothing. Is that less of a problem with the draft and more a problem with just their overall team play, or are we just sold on Talia just sort of sucking?
let's wait for game 2 and see if these champs are repicked and we can recontest this argument. But I do want to also move on to a particular play I want to highlight, which is the first blood that Shern got off in the river near bot side. Now, this is an example of Chiefs wanting to do something and it just kind of not working out, Rusty.
It felt like one of those big swing, no ding moments from the Chiefs. They come in, they try and make the plays. It's Zaya Rakan. They actually get all of the roots down. But Spooks kicks away the Varus at the last second. And even then, I don't think they had enough damage to secure that kill. So the kick was more of an afterthought, like we need to exit the area. They've tried to engage a fight where they didn't have enough damage to secure kills, but they still engaged the fight in the first place. They should have known that.
I mean, there's not much more to say. King still had a heal at the end of that. So I think you're absolutely right. Even if he didn't get kicked away, he's not going to die. And they just took the wrong fight. And you know, the idea is right. The idea is, all right, we've got our spikes. Let's get in there. Let's fight. We've sort of punished them early. We should realistically reap some sort of benefit. But it just didn't happen.
Well, the thing is that fight allowed Direwolves to get ahead, and they kind of just, they got further and further ahead throughout the game. But there was one moment towards the end where it looked like this was the moment where Chiefs, if they could win this fight, things could maybe turn around or start to turn around. This is the top lane fight in the turret. Now, Rusty, I mean, Ejim just goes in too early here.
Yeah, Ejim goes in. His engage was actually great. And I don't actually think Ejim going in too early was by any means a problem. I think the teleport positioning from Swiper, if that was a teleport, I don't know where he came from, but it was late. Comes in, thinks he might be an AP cannon of sorts. And as far as I'm concerned, Ejim did the right thing. I think the Chiefs did the right thing. And this comes back to what we were saying before, where the execution might actually be a big part of the problem. If they know they're diving top lane, why is there not a ward from the Lee Sin going in to set up as he's going in, or a little bit beforehand so he can go in with Swiper? Because the disconnect between those two, the timing between them being different, is why there was no chance in winning that fight.
Yeah. I'd also like to just highlight how Fantix played that fight. There was a point where he could have continued on to Raze and just shut him down. And looking at Fantix's item build path up until that point, if Raze is dead, no one ever kills him. But instead of just chasing him down, being that tunnel vision person that just wants to kill, he turned when the cannon came in and cleaned up the backline, which means that after the fight, they're very easily able to take Baron and just sort of close out the game really cleanly. So it was a really interesting sort of decision tree from him, and he made the right one. I just wanted to really highlight it because most people would have just killed Raze and been happy. Instead, he turns back, saves his team, and then they reap a huge benefit from it.
Yeah, there's actually some really good awareness from Fantix throughout that game, and more so just mastery of his champion. There was a point where he ignited Swiffer, pressed the Q, knew exactly how much it would do, and then walked over to the next target as watch this ignite killed him. Like little things like that.
Like
Fantix is a god.
It's like when you put on your sunglasses and walk away from an explosion. You know what I mean?
Basically,
I've done it. I've done what I need to do. I'm walking away now.
There was a point where he ulted. I think it was who was it? It was either Raze or Ejim,
Raze,
and they were just burning down, and you could see on the player game. He's just sitting there like,
I know what's
there's
happening
nothing
now.
I can do.
All right, well, looking forward to game 2. That's only game 1 of this best-of-3 series. So what do Chiefs need to do to get back into this series, Tigan?
It's hard to highlight one thing. I would say that their ideas are there. Their decision-making is there. It's just execution's falling apart a little bit in multiple places. And if they can sort of tidy that up, they should realistically be able to just come back and steamroll, because all that happened was they made small mistakes and Direwolves just capitalized on every single one.
But isn't that kind of the thing? You can't make small mistakes against the Direwolves because they're probably going to win laning phase. So if you are making small mistakes, they're going to be able to, and they capitalize on those. I mean, you've got nowhere to come back, right?
And that's why I was saying, if they don't make those small mistakes, they can win, because I didn't see a lot of proactivity from the Direwolves. I saw them just sit there, let the Chiefs make their mistakes, and just absolutely crush them from them. So
yeah,
that'd be my only real complaint from the Chiefs.
So make fewer mistakes. Good analysis, Rusty.
I would say feel a little bit more aggressive even. They had pushing lanes bottom. They won it at level 1. They had a pushing middle lane. It's a Talia. And Spooks has freedom of the bottom side jungle. I just feel like the Lee Sin could have at least reached out a little bit, trusted his team, and whether that's vision, knowledge of where Shermfire is, whatever the reason may be internally for the Chiefs, they should use Spooks more as an asset that can invade if their lanes are winning.
Well, let's take a look at the total damage for the champions, because I know, Rusty, when we were watching this, you were saying, look, maybe the Chiefs aren't able to, to close it out with damage, but look how much damage Talia's doing, right?
Yeah, look, early game, definitely going to be doing a lot of damage. Kennan's up there because he spends most of his time hitting a tank. But for what it's worth, you're seeing lots of damage, I would imagine, mitigated by the side of the Direwolves. They build tanky, so whilst their damage done doesn't look as meaningful as it is from the Chiefs, all the damage the Direwolves did was very meaningful in comparison.
Yeah, because there's less health.
It's
so
sort of like playing against a Soraka. You're going to do a hell of a lot of damage, but the other team doesn't care.
Yeah.
Right? That's what happened against Vlad here. You're going to do a lot of damage against him. I'm sure Swiffer did a hell of a lot all game just in the lane.
Yeah.
Right? But that damage doesn't matter because Vlad just sits there, heals it back, doesn't really care, and continues to do his thing.
Hey, the other thing I wanted to talk about before we move on is this is the first game in the OPL we've seen Rift Herald being... No, it's the first time we've seen it, and there was a moment where Chiefs let Rift Herald loose in the bot lane, and Swiper doesn't engage off the back of this, off the back of Rift Herald taking on Gragas. Now, what's the thought process behind that? Should he have gone in then?
So when I saw it, I said that he was going to TP. That was all I could think, right?
Yeah.
He backed off. He's just going to TP. It's hard to see what his thought process was going. I still think he was just looking for a TP personally. Otherwise, I don't know why he's backing off. But I even wrote down here, it was a really good play for them to take Herald. They snuck it really, really quickly.
It was great.
And then I wrote down bad use of Herald because that's what it was. They just sort of let it go.
The timing was good, I think. They put it as the Direwolves were sieging the middle lane, so they wanted to place it in the side lane. If Gragas ever left, it was 2 turrets gone. But I think Swiper was a little bit too afraid of maybe someone coming down to haunt him without the proper vision there. And so he backs away and just lets it die. Ultimately, it was quite poor, but I don't know if it was the wrong decision by any means from the Chiefs. They just let the advantage or potential things subside.
All right, we've talked about potential changes for the Direwolves going to, sorry, for the Chiefs going to the next game, and I want to talk now about Direwolves before we go into this next game. So what do they need to change, or is there anything they need to improve on going into this game too?
Their level 1 was pretty poor. So if they can just sort of sit back and just get into lanes pretty standard, they should be fine. Everything that I've seen from them shows that, like you said before, they're just going to win lane if they just play stock standard. So why risk it? Why go for that level 1 trade? Yes, historically, Braum's a strong level 1 champion, but if you don't need to take that risk, why are you doing it? What do you gain from it?
Rusty?
Yeah, there's not a lot of value in telling a winning team what to change if it's winning, right? But it's saying that I think they could play a little bit faster, more heavy from the top side if Chippies is playing so well, which he currently is. You saw the ultimate even using the top lane. His mechanics are well and truly warmed up. So maybe just get Schönfire working with the teleport member of the team more.
All right, well, that is us. That is all from us here at the Analyst Desk before we get into Game 2. Let's check out some highlights from Game 1.
Going for the engage, Sprucing to get there first, but Schönfire's there as well. King and Destiny very low, but look at Egypt himself. First blood is picked up by Schönfire. They lock down the Zaya and Rakan as well. Egypt's only the last person alive for the Chiefs. This is a disaster for the Chiefs so far. Chippies is teleported in, up behind Swiper. Destiny's on top of him, gets the Witness Bride, gets him to stand behind Brong as the man with the barrel will slowly headbutt him down. Destiny lives, and that's an early ace for the Direwolves.
Able to mitigate the disadvantage they had nice
Here
and
we
early,
go.
but there's an engage for the Chiefs, forcing them underneath this turret. Teleport will come in from Chippies nice and early. They lock down Rakan straight away. They get the first kill already. Raze will flash away from that. Swiper's in the middle of the team. Big stuns, but is it going to be enough? It's not. King somehow survives. Swiffer is going to try and run away from Fantix, who's chasing him down. Spooks will tag him with the Q, but the Direwolves have already got 2 kills in this fight.
And Direwolves come in game 1, 14,000 gold lead, 26 minutes in, they're going to take it.
And the Wolfpack's former member of Raze watches helplessly as the Direwolves take down his Nexus. Direwolves go up 1-0.